this week's episode of Kicking Unhealthy Relationships That Occur with Stephanie McPhail and Steve Vaccaro, we have Stacy Goodrich, founded So Connected in 2003. She is a master practitioner in neurolinguistics program and an expert in eliminating mental blocks. Suddenly, her daughter, who is a gymnast, came home from a practice and wasn't able to do a move that she was always able to do. Author of Mental Strength Coaching Journal for Athletes, Stacy's passion is to share her ability to help people shift their mentality, create alignment between their mind and body, or conscious and unconscious mind, to live from a congruent perspective and to be all they can be. That's Kick Unhealthy Relationships That Occur with Stephanie and Steve. Together, we're leading the way to empower others to live healthy lives with healthy people. That's every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. And on Mondays from 6 to 7 p.m. on Optimum Cable Channel 115. All other show times are Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Now batting for the Yankees, number 2, Derek Jeter, number 2.
Hey, Stephanie, how are you?
I'm great, Steve. How are you?
Good. I started off with Derek Jeter because he made the Hall of Fame, and you're such a big baseball fan. I had to play that at the very beginning.
For anyone watching, we were just talking before the show that I am completely oblivious when it comes to sports. So Steve is the expert sports person in this show.
You're not supposed to say that. Derek Jeter just made the Hall of Fame. You are still a New Yorker. You're in Texas, but you're still a New Yorker, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Congrats to Derek Jeter.
Yes. But you know what? We also started off with a tribute to some of the heroes from September 11th. Can you believe it's been 20 years already?
It feels, in sometimes or some moments it feels like it just happened, and in sometimes it feels like it was a lifetime ago. So I can't, I think anyone who was around and old enough to understand what was going on, it was a moment that we will never forget. I mean, I think most of us can share our stories of exactly where we were and what we were doing and what happened, especially if you were in New York or the DC area. But things have never been the same since.
It's never been the same since. It's 20 years. So a lot of the young people now, they're just, we have to keep that vision alive, that experience alive. Even though it's so painful, it's so very important to keep that moment alive because it really changed the world forever.
Agreed.
And you working in the school system, teaching our young people, especially during this pandemic, we all have to do a better job as adults to really connect with those young people, so they're the future of our world.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I remember having students in my class who lost parents in 9/11. So, them going through that experience even years later, because I wasn't a teacher when that happened, but hearing their stories of their, sadness and, everything that goes along with grief and losing their parents in such a way that was like the world was grieving as well. So it was, it's very difficult. It was a difficult time then and a difficult time now.
Right. It's unifying. And, you don't want to highlight New York, but also people in Washington, everybody around the world was affected. But New York, it was just an average work day, a little after 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, everybody getting to work and everybody saying goodbye to loved ones and thinking they were going to come home for dinner. And 3,000 people did not come home for dinner. And we felt the ramifications of that. We still do. And even now in Afghanistan, we're just pulling out now after all these years, and people are still tormented and traumatized by 9/11.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to really wrap your head around what's gone on in the past 20 years when it comes to 9/11 and it comes to terrorism and it comes to, and again, like now there's all this other frustrations that people are having and all of this anger. I kind of feel like I don't know. And, correct me because you might remember better than I did because I was in my 20s when that happened.
You call me old?
Well, you're older than me. And, when I was 23, because I'm 43 now, it was like, I was working at a crisis hotline actually when it happened. And it was the weirdest thing because it was a busy crisis hotline and it was quiet.
Right.
For hours because people were just in shock. And then all of a sudden it was like, as people were understanding what was going on, then all of a sudden all these calls started coming in and, it was really different. But, it was just, I just remember thinking, where can I go donate blood? How can I help? What can I do? And I think I have friends of mine that are suffering some of the long-term effects because they went down to ground zero and now have, issues with their lungs and their, they're getting cancers and all sorts of things. So there's all these other deaths that have happened since 9/11.
Right. I was actually living in Maryland, about 20 minutes outside Washington, D.C. And after I found out it happened, I was working at Johns Hopkins. I actually took the next 3 days off, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I went down back to New York to volunteer on the West Side Highway. And there were so many people from around the world helping the firefighters, the Con Ed people, all the people that were going to ground zero and just giving them supplies and support, just camped out there. And I was able to do some counseling services for some people there. But I remember when coming back, my daughter was, my oldest daughter, Gia, was like 6 or 7 at the time. And we were sitting on the front porch right after it happened. And right after they released the airplanes to fly overhead again, and her and I are sitting on the front porch, and she was saying, "There's Gia, and that's her love for Derek Jeter, right there." So she's a married young lady now. But we were sitting on the front porch, and we were looking at this plane fly overhead, and she said, "Daddy, what does hijack mean?" And at that moment, I was like, I didn't know what to respond and how to respond to my own child. But I found myself having to explain what the word hijack meant because she didn't understand. And I think it's up to us to keep teaching people that. I think people outside New York need to come to the area in the Twin Towers where they were. There's a beautiful museum. It's Freedom. It's a beautiful, beautiful work that they did. It kind of, again, it teaches a lesson. It teaches history that we should never, ever forget.
Agreed.
Yeah. And we're so thankful because Rachel Barcelona will be singing the national anthem at Eisenhower Park tomorrow in honor of the 348 people that lost lives from Nassau County in Long Island. So Rachel's been asked to sing the national anthem at 4:45. So if you're in the area, there's Rachel, and she is an international autism advocate, and she's a superstar. She's actually, check this out, Stephanie, she's actually on a New York City billboard right now because she's here for Fashion Week. I don't have a billboard. I don't think you have a billboard.
No.
Maybe I'll guess Stacy has a billboard, but I don't know. That's pretty impressive.
That's amazing. I mean, I saw her in Times Square years ago, and now to see one of our fellow chapters rap, shows on a billboard is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I certainly would never make that level. So congratulations to Rachel. And we have a couple of other events coming up along the way. Tomorrow night we'll be filming live from New York City. Remy Grace, who's a 6-year-old, another autism advocate. She's going to be our newest youth hero tomorrow. She's 6 years old, and she's in here for New York City for Fashion Week. And that's Tyler Gianchetta, Rachel Barcelona. So we'll be doing a live show there. We have another event coming up, I believe, 3 events, music performances next weekend. Dave Clark's Songs in the Attic, Billy Joel tribute show, Christine Ullman and Sal the Voice Valentinetti. Some of those proceeds will be going back to our chapters network to support our nonprofit efforts. So we want to thank Gene DiNapoli for arranging all that. And there's so many things. I have to give a little shout out. It's a little personal. My aunt, she is suffering from stage 4 cancer. I know I brought this up before. That's me, my Aunt Kathy. She's, we're kind of close in age. That's back in the day when I had like a little fro. And that's me. As you can see, you see my little plaid pants with the suspenders.
Aww.
So that was, I had the look there, But the haircut, not so much. But the pants, not bad. But Kathy also, she was a high school music teacher in Connecticut, got Teacher of the Year twice, and she sang in front of the Pope at the Vatican with her choir of over 100 a couple years back. So, Kathy, I love you very, very much, and I am always there for you, and you've always been there for me. So continue to get strong, and you'll beat this, and we love you so very much. So I just had to give a shout out. Kathy was instrumental to my upbringing, and I want to thank her so very much. But, our guest, I feel so connected to you, Stephanie. I don't know. I mean, do you feel connected?
Of course.
All right, because it's been like over a year or 2 years now. And if we don't have a connection, we've got problems, right?
We've got a healthy relationship, I think.
I think so. I haven't been kicking it out yet, and you haven't kicked me away yet, so we're all good. But talk about your book a little bit before our viewers, before we get started.
Well, so I have written now 2 books. Both of the titles are Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt. One is a book and one is a workbook. The book itself is all about healing from unhealthy relationships, where I share my story of how I healed, along with other red flags of what people can look out for, so that if they need help in healing, they can start learning some of the information they need to start making better choices. And then if they'd like to start putting into action some of the information learned in the book, they can actually purchase the workbook and then be given a step-by-step tools of what they need to do in order to start healing themselves. It's
a great book. I asked for 1 book, but then I wanted 20 books in case I want to read it 20 times. So you shipped me a whole box of books. I hurt my back picking it up, but a whole box of books of yours. And I tell you, I could pick out those unhealthy relationships in New York like that.
You got to start lifting with the legs, Steve.
Lift with the legs. Okay, all right. I'll ask our guest also too. Now, I forgot to mention, my Aunt Kathy was a huge Raggedy Ann and Andy fan. That's why you're probably wondering why I have Raggedy Ann and Andy behind me. So that's to give her a little, Kathy, I got you. You know, back in the day, I know you still collect those. So that's putting it out there. But before we bring out, oh, thanks, Carmine. You got to keep showing that picture, right? So before we bring our guest out here, it's all about working with young athletes sometimes. And I think the counseling that you can do or the support you can offer can really turn the lives around for young athletes, either playing or not playing. Here's a little video that I wanted to show you before we bring Stacy Goodrich onto the show.
Hi, in a game situation, do you struggle with your confidence? Hi, this is Dr. Patrick Cohn. In this video, I'm going to talk about a concept called proactive confidence and how to take a high level of confidence into the game with you. This is Sessions with Doc, unrehearsed and unscripted answers to your mental game questions. Here's the question I received from Arnie. Arnie said, when I play in a game, I get nervous and lack confidence. How should I prepare my mind before a basketball game so I can perform with high confidence? Arnie, this is a great question and a question that I receive all the time. I'm going to go back and talk about a concept that we talk in sports psychology all the time. It's called proactive confidence versus reactive confidence. Proactive confidence is taking responsibility for your confidence. That means when you go into a game situation, you bring a healthy level of confidence with you. You fuel your own confidence. You fuel your own mind with healthy thoughts so you can feel confident going into the game. As opposed to the other type of confidence, which is called reactive confidence. Reactive confidence is basically you reacting to how you feel that day when you woke up, whether you're tight or whether you're tired, or you start reacting to your warm-up where maybe you missed some shots in your warm-up, for example, or it didn't feel great in your warm-up, and then you start making assumptions about your confidence. Oh, I don't have it today. The problem with reactive confidence is just that you're reacting to things that are happening in your warm-up or early in the game. If that first couple of plays does not go well for you in the game, you tend to struggle with that. So the optimal goal here is to have proactive confidence. Okay, so let me back up and say, what is confidence? Self-confidence is a belief in your ability to execute your skills. Whether you're dribbling, whether you're shooting, whether you're defending, whether you're passing or running plays. It's how strongly you believe you can execute those plays. All right, so how do you get the proactive piece of that? The proactive piece comes from you recalling successful performances, in other words, what you've done well either in practice or in previous games, and also thinking about your strengths and your talents as a ball player. That's what it means to take responsibility and be more proactive with your confidence. Now, in addition to that, you can certainly do some things like think about your game plan and visualize yourself successfully playing out on the court and have a couple of small objectives what you're going to do during your game plan. But it always needs to be focused on something positive. You never want to go into a game thinking, don't shoot an air ball, don't have the ball stealing, don't make a bad pass. Those are not good objectives or goals. You want to focus specifically on what you can do to have a successful performance. That's what it means to have proactive confidence instead of reactive confidence. Hey, if you want some more information about how to boost your confidence in sports, go to...
Nice.
Yes. But you know what? We have to get Stacy Goodrich on the line here because she's the expert. I know I'm connected with you, and I think hopefully we'll both be connected with Stacy. Stacy, are you there?
I am. Hi, how are you?
Hey, welcome to Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie. I'm Steve, and you've been doing such amazing work with that video a little bit. So connected, mental strength coaching. Do you agree with that video, or do you have your own perspective on it?
I do agree with that video. I think that he's got some really great points with really what to focus on instead of what not to focus on. Because if we're thinking about what we don't want to have happen, that's what we're bringing to us. And so it's really important to focus on what I'm going to do versus what I'm not going to do. And definitely, I think confidence is built by a relationship of what confidence means to me. And so I think that that's an important thing to think about for each person too. Where was I confident in the past? What did that look like? What did that feel like? What was I doing? Was I talking to myself during that experience? Those are things that are really important, I think, for people to really connect with what being confident is for them.
So your work that you do is so connected, right? So talk about that, the word itself. Why did you pick that out? And your work over the years, which has been amazing. You've been doing this for such a long time. I'm sure you've helped so many along the way.
Well, the original name, So Connected, I was married to my first husband. And this is a great show about relationships. And I'm no longer married to that husband, but my name was Stacy Ostendorf. So I took the S and I took the O and I connected it with the word connected. And that's how my name came about. But really what happened when I was going through my divorce, I knew that I needed to be healthy. I didn't have any insurance. I knew that I needed a job that was going to afford to take care of my children. And I knew I wanted to do something that I loved, and I had to be flexible. And so I was a personal trainer, and I really had a sense for what people were, it's kind of like when I was personal training with a person who wanted to lose 50 pounds. I knew that person was holding on to that weight, or I knew that there was a reason for that person to have that weight on in the first place. And I didn't feel comfortable because we all have reasons for having an extra 50 pounds on. It may be for comfort, it may be for security, it may be for stability. It's something going on unconsciously that is preventing us from being able to lose the weight in the first place. And so I knew I had a sense of how people were holding on to their issues. But I wanted more information. I needed a backbone with how that worked. And I needed to understand how that worked and what people were thinking unconsciously and how that was controlling us in our lives. And so I went back and I got my master's. And then from that point forward, I started coaching with all of my personal training clients. And I have 4 children, and when my youngest daughter was about 9, she came home one day and she said, "Mom, Sarah asked me to do a back walkover on the high beam and I couldn't do it." And as her mom, like every other mom in the world, I said, "That's okay, don't worry about it. You'll figure it out." And she looked at me like, "No, that is not going to work." And I think at that point, what I was thinking was I have to find a solution for her. I knew that she had a mental disconnect. I knew that something was going on mentally that was affecting her from being able to do what she was doing all the time before that. And so I started using some of my tools and strategies that I was learning when I was getting my master's. And that's how I got started with the athlete side.
Wow. And Stephanie, you guys have done work together in the past or know of each other?
No.
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
But I kind of know Stacy because I was lucky enough for her to share some of her books. So The Mentally Strong Gymnast, this is for kids. And I thought this was really cool because she actually sent this to me, which I thought was really cool. There's a bunch of journaling exercises and a whole bunch of things for kids to go through. And it comes with its own pen that I just dropped off when I put it up on the screen. But so kids can like erase and then rewrite whatever they're thinking. So that's really, really cool. And then, there's this really, for adults or maybe even for teenagers as well, all journaling prompts for different days of different things that are going on. So it gives you an opportunity to really get into your own mind, into your own thinking. And, I think probably, Steve, you would agree, is that when you work with clients, one of the biggest issues we have to deal with is their own blocks. Right. We need to get out of our own way. I mean, that's really the biggest issue. And I actually did a training in one of my groups talking about how, Lao Tzu says the hardest decision is the hardest decision is deciding to take the first step. But really the hardest decision is taking action to create the first step. And that's where I think whether you're an athlete, whether you're looking to create any kind of change or shifts for yourself, the deciding to do something different is the part that's really hard. Would you agree, Stacey?
I would agree 100%. And I think that what I'm finding is that if people don't understand that there is a solution to the things that they have going on in their life, they're really struggling to talk about the problem. It's like if I have a problem and I know I have something in my way, it's really difficult to go to. If I have an athlete that comes to me and they cannot do something that they know they physically can do, and they don't have a solution to that particular issue, they feel equal to the problem. They feel like they are the problem. It's like when a 10-year-old baseball player strikes out and he cries. He's feeling equal to the strikeout. And so it's difficult for us because we're in the problem and we're equal to it from our mentality perspective. It's hard for us to then want to talk about it, and because we don't know another way to go about a solution. And so that's why the techniques and the tools that I teach are valuable. It's because they give space between the person and the hold on, I had a little, my computer was talking to me. but I wanted people to be able to have a solution for those particular mental blocks or mental disconnects and those limiting ideas that we have in our mind that prevent us from what you said of taking action and really going after what we want.
Mm-hmm. Well, because that's what the hardest thing is, realizing that we might have messed something up, but that doesn't mean we are that mess up. And I think because we can get into this whole like self-sabotage of like, look at me, I'm terrible at sports, I can't exercise, I'm not good at this. When instead of like, oh, I did that wrong, and now I need to do something different and learn from my mistake. That's the hardest thing. I mean, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. The 5-year-old wants everything to be perfect right away. And so to keep explaining, like, no, it takes practice. You're not going to get it right away. You're going to have to learn how to do it. You have to make mistakes in order to learn from those mistakes to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, when people have things that are affecting them from a negative perspective, you talk about September 11th and how many people still, like you guys were talking earlier, I remember exactly where I was. I was doing daycare. I had all these little kids in my house with me. And one of the moms came in and said, did you see what happened? And we all have a memory or a perception from that experience that basically gets grooved in our neurology. And we behave according to that mentality. And so if we were afraid, if we were, thinking that now we were going to be attacked, all those things get connected to us and we behave according to that idea. And that's what sometimes then can affect us, create more anxiety, create different things that kind of piggyback onto that and build onto those issues that then people are really struggling with. And it's really awful. It's really sad.
Yeah. Now, I was looking at the children's book, the book that Stephanie has that I don't have.
Okay, I did send you one, Steve.
Okay, oh, it's okay. I'm just getting the record straight here. But anyway,
he's just trying to make you feel bad. Don't listen to him.
hey, Stephanie, watch it. We have a healthy relationship. but no, seriously. But the illustrations are off the hook, and I see a Gabrielle Brown making some comments that she's your biggest fan. Talk about Gabrielle, because she's the one that came up with those illustrations, right?
Yes. Okay. So Gabby and I have been working together since she was about 13, and she had some she had some depression, and she had some parts of her that were really sad, and so we started working together. And I would pick her up at school. We would go to the coffee shop and have our session. And I would then take her home, and we did that for about 6 years. And we decided she's an amazing illustrator. She is one of the most incredibly creative people I know I can say to her, okay, my Liv is on the beam and she's struggling and she's stuck and she can't do her back walkover, and she'll just draw her in about 3 minutes. And that book is a product of her being able to create Liv. And that book is my daughter's story from when she first came home, couldn't do her back walkover, and the strategies and the tools that I taught her on that day, and how my daughter used those strategies and tools to support herself to be able to not only do what she wanted to do on that day, but my daughter's a Division I gymnast at Ball State University now. And so she's still using the strategies and tools that I taught her that day. But Gabby really brought Liv to life. And I'm so proud of Gabby, and I'm so proud of this book. It just brought it basically full circle from the day that my daughter came home with that issue. And it's just a great explanation on a mental disconnect and a solution to that particular issue.
What an important gift to give to your child. And then, we talk a lot about how we have certain experiences that cause us to change the way we look at things. And, things don't have to be perfect. In fact, a lot of our best lessons have come from things that have not worked out the way we wanted them to work out. And I think that this is a great example of things didn't work out for your daughter, and it's to the benefits of not only your daughter, because I bet you she's not just a gymnast. I bet you she's doing well in other areas of her life as well because of that mental strength of it, but also all of the other kids, all the other adults who are learning and reading, what you've put out there because of that experience you had with your daughter.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And when people text me and, say 2-3 years later that their kids are using the strategies in ways they never imagined, I mean, obviously those are the best compliments I could ever get. And that's when my 4 kids, they're 30 down to 20 now. And all 4 of them have shown me how they've used the strategies in their own way. And it just layers it. And I teach the strategies, and then people make them their own, and they just create a life with them. And it's been such a blessing in that regard, just to touch people. But they really teach me everything. And so I have to keep up with the athletes, and that's probably the most fun, but the biggest challenge for me is because they require that success to layer itself, and it's fun, but it's just been such a great experience in that way.
Well, and because once the child has gone out of high school, not all of them become professional athletes.
Right.
But what they learn from being a part of that team is what will catapult them in all other areas of your life, because there is a special mental strength, and there is a certain type of team effort. I mean, even in gymnastics, where it really is about yourself, there's still that team, mentality in there. And I bet you, Steve, as a someone who really loves baseball, every part of the team, everyone has different abilities, and you get to know what they are, and you help each other. And really, that's when you're in a business environment. That's what we do also. And whether you're working with clients one-on-one or whatever, it's really about the relationships that you have, and learning that from those team sports as a child, and how to work through those things together as a team will really be able to help them in long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And my business, athletes are really fun to work with, and athletes they don't want to be in their own way. Mm. And so that's probably 80% of my business. But what you said is so important about people can have a lot of anxiety, what I call in their A circle. They can have things that affect them in a negative way, and whatever limiting idea or limiting belief they have about themselves, it really affects all of us. And being able to give people the strategies and the tools to manage their situations, whether they're trying to drive over a bridge that they couldn't drive over before, or whether they're dealing with an old perception when they were a child that they're trying to move around, or whether they're an athlete who's playing professional, who wants to be their best and to be successful in their own right. The whole idea is to give them the strategies and tools they need to manage their situations in a way that they can maximize their own talent and move forward from a really connected perspective of them being able to put more themselves into the world, because I think that that's what we need more of.
No doubt. This is Kick on Healthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail. I'm Steve Vaccaro. That's our wonderful expert guest, Stacy Goodrich, and So Connected. She's got this great program. But let's talk about goals, because I started to write some goals down the other day, and I actually didn't really finish them. But I started it.
Steve, you didn't finish writing your list of goals to accomplish? Come on.
I was trying to get ready for the show. I just ran out of time. But we have a couple of quotes about goals. I want to see if you ladies agree or disagree. Setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. What do you think, Stacy?
Well, that's a great question. And I created a strategy called Goal Beyond the Goal because I love goal setting, but sometimes when we set a goal, sometimes there is pressure on that. And Steve, I feel like maybe the moment you wanted to set a goal there, you felt some pressure and it prevented you from being able to actually write them down. So Goal Beyond the Goal is a strategy I created to help people, like you said, align themselves with what they want in their future. But a result or something that we can't control is what I call a goal beyond the goal. If I want to make my beam routine, that's a goal beyond the goal. If I want to get a 9-5 in a gymnastics routine, that's a goal beyond the goal. If I want to win the baseball game, or if I want to write a book, that's a goal beyond the goal, because what it does is we're basically taking a snapshot of where you see yourself a couple of years down the road. We're throwing it out into your timeline and dropping it down. And what that does is it aligns you to your goal. And from that day forward, it's about moving toward that. And your goal now is seeking you as much as you're seeking it. And so that you could just take those opportunities that come to you as you move toward that goal. And you're now just being prepared to make that goal.
Right.
It's the amazement of manifesting. You know, like my husband will say I'm an excellent manifester, but that's because I get really clearly focused on what it is that I need to do. And it's not even like, I feel like it's almost easier at times because when I have a feeling that something has to be done, it's not even like I have a choice. Like even becoming a coach and helping women heal from unhealthy relationships, it wasn't something that was like, yeah, I think I should do that one day. You know, it became a calling. And so once I felt that calling and said, okay, I'm going to answer, I'm going to stop ignoring it, I'm going to start actually listening to it. Then it was, all right, what exactly do I want to accomplish? And then it was then figuring out those steps is almost easier. It can be overwhelming when you take it into little tiny steps and you keep thinking about the big picture that you have really formed in your mind, because I'm already living that place. I just have to get to that place that I'm already living.
Well, you said something really important, Stephanie. When you're living in that place, your unconscious mind is now connected to your conscious mind in a way that, like you said, you're already there. Now you're just living it out and manifesting what that actually looks like for you. And that's really why I did Goal Beyond the Goals, because it just gives people a way to think about it that way, to bring that to them, but with no pressure or nothing in there, and all those things, that those sabotaging mentality ideas or thoughts, or I'm not good enough, or whatever those things are, then they kind of just go to the wayside, because you're right. When you're laser focused and you have a goal and you're just moving toward that and doing that, everything else kind of is gone.
And even the moments of like, I'm not good enough, I in my mind, because I've had those moments, like I'm going to create a business, I'm going to help, like it can be really overwhelming. But then when you are that clear cut focus, those thoughts do come up, but then you're like, I'm going to have to figure out how to overcome this.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever I'm not good enough at, I'm going to have to get more education on how to do it. Because obviously I wasn't a business owner, I was a teacher. So, okay, well, what do I have to learn? I have to get a mentor. I have to get, coaching. So what do I have to do to get past this block that's keeping me from getting to my goal that's already there?
And I think once you accept that, understand that about yourself, then you can actually get there. Because if you don't get there, it's not happening for you. But we have another quote, another goal quote, and maybe Stephanie, you could take a stab at that. If the plan doesn't work, change the plan, not the goal. What do you think?
This can be so difficult for clients where, something doesn't go exactly as planned and they throw up their arms and then say, well, it's just not going to happen for me, you know. And again, we focus on healing from unhealthy relationships. So they attempt once or twice, it didn't work out, and then they kind of give up and say, I might as well just stay in this toxic relationship because it's not possible for me to heal. The problem is that whatever they did is what wasn't working. It's not that the goal was wrong, if they were taking the wrong steps. I mean, a lot of people come to me after trying lots of different outlets to heal from unhealthy relationships. They're like, I've tried everything. I'm like, well, you haven't worked with me yet, so you haven't tried everything. Let's keep exhausting different ideas and different patterns so that we can actually try different things to get you to that goal. Because sometimes it's just finding the right fit for the right person.
Stacy, what do you think?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And there's a technique that I teach called A Circle. Are you guys okay if I explain it and you guys experience it?
Go for it.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
I'm taking notes. Okay.
Okay. So A Circle is a technique that I created to help people be aware of, Stephanie, those thoughts that were in their way, or that those old sabotaging patterns that people cannot quite move around. They keep, pounding their head against the wall with those thoughts and those issues. And so A Circle is a technique that I created to help people understand how to manage it and give them a way to be more aware of what actually is happening. So everybody has what I call an A circle, a B circle, and a C circle. And there's no right or wrong way with how this is set up. It's a way for us to understand what's controlling you or what's running the show in any given situation. So whoever or whatever, and think about it for yourself, Stephanie and Steve. I want you guys to do it for yourself instead of because we kind of get other people, we got to help our kids, or we got to help. Think about it for yourself personally, and everybody who's listening. Whoever or whatever is in your A circle is who or what is making decisions for you, or who or what is running the show for you in that situation. B circle are people or things that support you to make a decision, or they can influence your decisions, but they're not making it for you. And C circle is everything else outside of that, or everything else that doesn't matter. Now, we can have lots of things in our A circle. We can have people. We can have thoughts. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to mess it up. What if it doesn't work out? We can also have energy in our A circle, pressure, anxiety, worry. We can have confidence in our A circle. And when you guys think of what's in your A circle, or who is making decisions for you in your life, what would you say?
I would say, well, making decisions in my own life. I mean, it tends to be me. I'm very, and it's coming from a place of, I think when I was younger, the part that was making decisions was maybe more the place of fear, lack, concern, worried about what other people think, people pleasing, all that kind of stuff. So it was all those parts of my brain that were keeping me trying to what does everybody else think? I need to try to make everybody else happy. And it was my perception of what I thought other people wanted from me. I think that for me, that has changed a lot. I don't think it's 100% changed. I'm sure there's still there a little bit subconsciously. But I think that definitely my ideas have changed in how I look at things. Now it's my A circle, I think, is really coming more from a place of what is right for me, what feels good for me. And kind of thinking about my family as well, obviously, but what feels right, what feels natural for me to choose. And as the CEO of my company, I get to kind of, it's like the household and, the company and just myself. It's kind of like the CEO of all of those different organizations. You kind of have to be ready to make quick thinking from a non-emotional part and really think about what works and what doesn't work. Did that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. I think whatever is in our A circle is what's making decisions for us in that situation. And so when you think about it, if people have a limiting belief in their A circle, or if maybe they have I know when I was married, my husband was in my A circle and I wasn't in my own A circle. I put him in my A circle because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. Well, he didn't ask me to be put. He didn't ask to be put in my A circle. I just put him there. And so it caused, once you're aware of the fact that you have an A circle, then it makes a lot more sense with how to manage it. And you can have a conversation about it.
Right. I know when I was younger, I grew up in foster homes, and I think everybody tried to create my A circle, and I always wanted to be my own person because I was tired of moving around, and that was the biggest conflict. So I reached the time when I was 17, I was able to be emancipated by initiating my own, having to leave a foster home. But that was the first time I was able to create my own A circle with myself in it and being able to fulfill what I wanted to accomplish.
Well, I think you just really hit on a really important point. I think that children automatically do not know. First of all, they don't know that they have an A circle. That's why it's so helpful, because we always want our kids to show up for themselves and communicate what they need, especially athletes, who typically athletes have their coaches in their A circle because they're telling them what to do, or their parents. And sometimes when coaches and parents are in kids' A circle, it can create things that are negative, pressure, or some stress. And for you, being able to be in your own A circle and communicate what you needed, I'm sure that felt pretty good at 17. But I'm sure before that, it was a struggle because you couldn't really be in your own A circle, at least by yourself. You had to have other people that supported you.
Right. But at the time, I created my own world. I was playing sports. I was working. I was writing for the town paper. I was coaching. So I created my own world to kind of put off those other entities, that other people that were, infiltrating my A circle, basically. And so I kind of live by that. So what you say can really connect with so connected with so many people. I think we lost Stephanie. She, maybe she's having some technical problems. I'm sure she'll come back, but we're almost out of time. But what's the most rewarding aspect of what you do, Stacy, and the most challenging at this point?
The most rewarding thing that I get to do is I get to see people perform in their potential. When somebody comes to me and they have a mental block, which is simply a disconnect between their mind and their body, or a disconnect between their conscious mind and their unconscious mind. And what happens when there's a disconnect, all kinds of things get between their mind and their body, and that's what I call their A circle. But once they're aware of those things that are in their A circle that had been holding them back, and they can be in their own A circle and they can manage their situations, and they are more connected, what I call so connected. It's just it's so rewarding to see people be who they are and connect from that perspective. And once you're connected, people don't have to agree with you, but that's what I believe the world needs. More people connected, more people showing up for themselves and sharing their gifts of how they kind of live from that perspective and they perform.
Hey, Stephanie, you can't take a 15-minute break in between the show.
Do you ever watch Seinfeld back in the day, or reruns? Well, there was an episode where everyone said how funny George was. And he said, well, the reason why is because he always leaves everything on a high note. So as soon as he makes everybody laugh, he makes an excuse to leave the building. So I had just said something really inspirational. It was time for me to exit left so everyone would see how smart I was.
we had like
I'll have to remember that.
10,000 comments since you've been left. Unbelievable. So, Stacy, your most challenging aspect?
My most challenging aspect is, do I dare say, keeping parents out of the kids' A circle?
Yeah, there we go.
And being able to get the parents to understand how I'm helping that athlete connect those dots, because it's kind of like the child is the driver of the bus, and I'm not working with the parent necessarily, and they're kind of in the back seat. And they're like, wait, I don't think she gets it. And I'm like, she gets it. Just watch to see. But parents don't want to be in their kids' A circle and affecting them negatively. So once they understand A circle, I can say to the parent, maybe you should step out of their A circle, or I can tell the athlete, you can kick your mom out of your A circle because she doesn't want to be there if it's giving you some pressure, or if it's causing you some tension or something negative. So that really opens up the conversation. But that's probably my biggest challenge, is to help understand and teach the parents how to support their kids, but there's nothing wrong with them. They're not broken. They don't need to fix them. They don't need to be in their kids' A circle all the time. We want to be able to support them to manage their situations without trying to fix the child when they just are struggling, but they're going to be okay.
I'm kind of laughing as you're saying that because I'm just imagining some of the like little league parents that I've seen, or my sister's son is a soccer player and is doing like really well. I couldn't even begin to tell you where he's at, but I just know he's doing way better than his age group. And, they always talk about how parents come on the field and people are yelling and screaming and, yelling at their kids that they're not good enough or trying hard enough or whatever. That's got to be hard. Like, how do you manage the difficult parents that are actually making it harder for the child instead of making it easier for them?
Well, the good thing about that is I work with a lot of kids and I teach them how to kick those parents out of their A circle, not in a disrespectful way, but in a way that it doesn't have to affect them negatively. And so we've all seen those parents, and that's part of it. But once they understand A circle and the parents can communicate to their children in a different way, that also supports the parent to be able to understand where their role is and where their role isn't.
Right. And, Stephanie, I've been an umpire for youth sports for 40
That's
years.
true.
So as an umpire, I would just kick those unhealthy relationships right to the curb, out of the dugout, out of the stands, before I even met you.
Steve came in my session and just kicked those parents right out of there.
There we go. See that? Oh, we're just about out of time. Stacy, how can people get a hold of you and the wonderful work that you do?
Well, my website is so-connected.com. And I have a group on Facebook called Athletes Who Settle for More. And there's like 13,000 some people on that group now. But I do a lot of live things. It's all about mental strength. So that group is a great resource for people if they want to join that group and get to know me a little bit through there. Otherwise, I think you have. Well, I guess my website would be the best. I always give my phone number out, but I don't know if I should do that.
Well, they
can text me.
Yeah, they could contact us and we can, kind of between the three of us.
But the website is great. That's a great place to get in touch with you, right? And they can follow you on your in your private Facebook group, so that would help as well.
And my email is stacy@so-connected.com.
Wow. Well, Stacy, thank you so very much. This has been awesome because you're really helping so many people out there. And during this pandemic, they need that additional support and empowerment to overcome and create a healthy A circle.
Yeah, I just want people to know that whatever's in their A circle, practice giving themselves permission to not be perfect so they can stay with it, kind of adjust as they go. And, anything in their A circle was only there for a positive reason to begin with. So as you understand that more about what's going on in your life, hopefully you can navigate that and move through that in a way that works better for you. Thanks so much for having me, you guys.
It was great having you, Stacy. Thank you.
The hour flies by. We'll see you down the road real soon.
Okay, take care. Thanks.
That's Stacy Goodrich, So Connected. Stephanie, you keep pulling these wonderful people. I don't know. I think we'll book till next 2 years. I don't know how you're doing it.
Pretty much. I mean, we've got a lot of great things going on in the show, and I think that the fact that this is, and your vision, for anyone who doesn't know Steve's vision of really helping people in the community and really helping others to achieve their best lives, I think that's something that a lot of people can understand. I mean, there's a large percentage of the people in Chapters Network that are overcoming some kind of major trauma for themselves. And the shows that you have under Chapters Network is the umbrella of Chapters Network. It's all about helping other people. And again, just talks about how when you've experienced something difficult in your life, you really can use that as a gift. In fact, have you actually, I did a training on this yesterday. I had never heard this before, but I thought it was a really good term that was coined. It's called post-traumatic growth. Have you ever heard of that before?
Briefly, just recently I've heard it. Yes.
So it was coined by the University of North Carolina. I want to say University of North Carolina, Charlotte spot. I don't remember exactly, but I know it was University of North Carolina. And they were talking about this. What they were finding is that they're seeing two different things come out of trauma. And one of them is called, of course, PTSD, which most of us know is just reliving that same traumatic event over and over again, and their people's lives getting worse. And for a lot of people, they start with the PTSD after overcoming trauma. And trauma is a difficult thing to get over, which is why you need to work with people like Steve and myself and other people that are trauma experts. But post-traumatic growth is actually what happens for some people on their own, but a lot of people with the help of people like Steve and myself. And that is where they're not just resilient, where they bounce back from the traumatic event, but they actually come back stronger, smarter, healthier than they ever were before, with more connection and more love and more strength than they ever could have imagined. And I think, you know, it's what I love seeing in my clients, and I'm sure you love seeing that with your clients. When that happens, it's just so exciting from the perspective of the coach and therapist to see that. And, you know, for anyone who's wondering if it's possible for you, yeah, but you need someone's support to really get you there.
No doubt, no doubt. But before we end, we have to bring it back home. It's 20 years since 9/11, and a couple of years back, I was contacted. I did radio shows by a gentleman who was a musician who was struggling with cancer. He had this song that he wanted to put out on the radio. Dom Calabro. He passed away shortly after my visit. I went to his home in Brooklyn. I listened to the song, and he said, "Steve, promise me you'll try to get this on the radio or TV, you know, around 9/11 time." So I always fulfill that promise. Dom Calabro, I love you, brother, man. I know you're with God, resting in peace. But this is his song, Lady Liberty, and I promised him and his family that I would put it on any different show that I'm on. So Lady Liberty. Stephanie, thank you very much. We're going to take us home, Carmine, with Lady Liberty.
There's a lady, she's standing tall, with her arm raised, protecting us all. She's a symbol of strength, and I recall. As she stands with her hand to the sky, ain't it good to know that God's on her